welcome to the Shadow Court. I'm JudgeSpektre, and today I take a look back on the Tremors franchise. I'll make a very bold statement right now. In my personal opinion, the Tremors franchise, all 4 films and the television series, there has never been anything in Tremors that has been bad. There have been some things that have been better than others, but nothing that I have ever seen that has really been bad. I remember the original Tremors film and hearing that in the tradition of classic 1950s horror films that Tremors was destined to become a classic. And in many ways it has. It's become a cult classic. But when I think back to the first Tremors film and to the Tremors franchise in general, the thing I remember most isn't the creatures, the underground carnivorous worms that hunt by sonic vibration, the graboids as they would later be called. I remember the characters, because that's one thing the Tremors franchise really created, was a lot of memorable characters. Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward and Michael Gross starred in the original Tremors film. Ward and Bacon played 2 handymen, Val and Earl, who were trying to get out of Perfection Valley, and ended up getting caught in the events of the film, and ended up having to fight in a battle of wits against carnivorous worms. Michael Gross played the paramilitary, paranoid survivalist Burt Gummer. And of course, he was most prepared for the situation because he was always ready to fight. And overall, the film was a lot of fun. And looking back on it now, I can see why it's become a cult classic. And when I look back to Tremors II, its sequel, it was a direct-to-video sequel, and unfortunately, Kevin Bacon sat out the project. Which doesn't surprise me because to me he's been a medium-sized movie star. Not really a big star, just a medium-sized one. The kind of star you'd expect to see acting along somebody else in their movie. He's not really leading man material, but that's not to say he's not a good actor. He just never really came off that way to me. Anyway, Fred Ward flies solo in the sequel. Michael Gross returns and reprises his role as Burt Gummer. And this time there's a twist. The worms have turned. If graboids live long enough, they actually metamorph into tiny little things called shriekers who hunt by thermal imaging. At this particular point, the series in general really started to take a turn in the MacGyver direction. Really just taking the things that you have at your disposal and using them in as many ways as possible to overcome the odds. This would become a little bit present here, but it would become a bigger part of the series later on. The Tremors 2 film, I've always said, is pretty much on par with the first one. There really isn't a hell of a lot of difference there. Good movie. Now, when I think of Tremors 3, unfortunately, Tremors 3 to me is definitely a step down in quality compared to the other 2. Michael Gross returns to reprise his role as Burt Gummer, but Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon are out of the show permanently, which is sad because they were 2 of my favorite characters, and it was unfortunate to see them leave like that. There's yet another twist. If shriekers live long enough, they metamorph into another type of creature known as ass blasters. Although I prefer to call them launchers because ass blasters, as they're referred to in the film, doesn't sound very menacing. The third film, as I said, was definitely not as good as any of the other 2, but it was a pretty decent one. Fresh out of the success of the third film, the Tremors television series appeared on Sci-Fi. And I was skeptical at first of the formula of people running from monsters in episodic television. I didn't think that would be fresh for, multiple weeks, but they introduced enough storyline elements and enough likable characters in the television series to make it really work. Unfortunately, the series was cut short before its prime as it only lasted 13 episodes. A real crime because, unlike a lot of Tremors fans, I think considering the budget they had to work with, the show was actually pretty darn good, and I really would have liked to have seen it go at least 3 seasons, because things were just left completely up in the air. While the television series was being filmed, Michael Gross actually was in the process of filming Tremors 4. And he actually missed several episodes of this series while he was doing this. Tremors 4 is a prequel to the series. showing that graboids had a history of being in Perfection Valley long before the events of the first film. This is, without a doubt, probably the least appealing Tremors film I've seen. I hate prequels. But then again, because I've seen Star Wars, I suppose I have a prequel hatred burned into my soul. I just really do not have any love for prequel films. Not at all. Not in the least. But as I said, looking back on this, I can't say I hate this film. It's pretty decent. Now, I was actually considering not even doing this retrospective look because I didn't have all the information at the time. After the failure of Tremors 4 and the cancellation of the series, I expected things to be over. But doing a random search on the Internet Movie Database after I'd already begun this project, I discovered that there is a fifth Tremors film that's actually being made, Tremors 5, Thunder from Down Under. What can you expect from this film? I don't know. If anything, if it actually gets made, I would hope for a final conclusion to the series, so everything can finally be wrapped up. Overall, as I said before, the Tremors series has not produced anything bad. It's just been a very fun series to watch. One that I could still go back today and watch a film and just really enjoy the hell out of it. If you happen to see the Tremors films anywhere, you might want to pick them up because they're definitely worth owning.